and welcome to your favorite show, the Be Happier podcast, where we engage in crossroad conversations. And today I have one of my beloved friends. She's a compadre, she's a coach, and she's so much more. She's an actress and ex Microsoft. I have to say that because, yeah,
Of course.
yeah, and she's a TEDx speaker. That's the best thing. She got to be on this TEDx stage and speak her brilliance. And I will have the link in the show notes so you can go and click on that and listen to her. But without further ado, this is my beloved friend. I'm saying it twice because I mean it and she knows it. And I want you to get it. Her name is Nana Ponceleon. And I'm not going to introduce her like I never do introduce my guests. She is going to tell you in her words how she wants to show up for you today, our beloved audience, beloved listener. So, Nana, go ahead and introduce yourself however you want to. The stage is yours.
Well, thank you. Yes, and I concur. You are my sweet friend. Oh my God, it's so much going on here between us, and it's lovely. And I think the first thing that I want to say is not about me, it's about the name of the podcast. That word happiness is just, it's so incredible and so wonderful because I think ultimately that's what everybody is striving for. Though we can talk about that too, because yeah, we'll get into that probably later. But yeah, like you said, my name is Nana Ponceleon. I am originally from Venezuela. That's where I was born, but I have been living between the US and Venezuela all my life. I came here 1 year old as a little girl with my dad and my mom. And my dad went to school at LSU, and that's where we lived my first 6 years of my life. And then I went back. Then I came back for college, did the business thing, which you said Microsoft. So that's how I ended up in Microsoft and other companies like Phillip Brothers and I did the corporate thing for many, many years. And then I resigned from the corporate world, not knowing what I wanted to do, honestly. I just knew I wanted to get away from the corporate world, which was a bit much at the time. I was traveling too much. My girls were little, and mom was away way too much. And I just resigned. And one day I went to do a workshop to relax because a friend recommended me to do that. He said, "You're kind of artistic, just do this thing." And lo and behold, here I am, a decade later, an actress. That's what I do today too, full time with, well, I guess it's not full time because I'm doing the coaching as well. And yeah, so it was an accidental journey, how I stumbled into acting, though I must say, always loved it. Ever since I was a little girl, acting, singing, but more singing and dancing, those were my two passions, still are to this day. But I never pursued it professionally, so acting was the one that I could do as an adult and professionally, because dancing, you need to start very early, though I do dance salsa. And then, of course, well, the coaching just started from my life experience and what I went through. And, we may get into that now. And that's how I ended up on the TEDx stage last year. I feel blessed that I could do that. That was quite a wonderful experience.
So in more than one ways we are connected. I could sing before I could talk, and I could dance before I could walk. And my dad's still alive, and he will tell you that. So that is one of my things, that I can sing and I can dance. But I'm not a professionally trained singer or dancer. But whenever you have an option, do you want to sing or dance? Okay, I'll dance. That's me. And if you said you were Latina and you did not do your salsa, I would be like, is she a real Latina? I've yet to meet someone who doesn't dance from that community, from that entire diaspora of humanity. And yes, you were corporate, you're an actress, you're a TEDx speaker, you're a coach. So basically, the reason I named this the Be Happier podcast is because you can always get a bit happier. And who wouldn't want an extra dose of happiness in their life, one day at a time? So you have been at many crossroads in your life. You were married, you had children, they are all crossroads. You changed your career more than once, and today you are on the stage, both as a speaker and as an actress, as a performer. So tell me a little bit, tell us, me and the viewer, a little bit about your crossroad journeys. What was it when you found yourself at a crossroad? And what was it that you did that made you decide one of the paths? Because our life is a string of decisions, is a sum total of the string of decisions that we make. So tell us a little bit, as intimate as you would like to be it, or as big picture as you want to be, you coming to a crossroad, and at that crossroad, where did you go within yourself, and how did you find the path that you took as that next step?
Wow. Wow. That is that is a huge question. Because there are path roads in our life, many, I feel, right? We're full of them. And like you say, depending on what path you take, your life turns a certain way or another.
Mhm.
And I had many of those throughout my life, though there were a few that I can say were the big ones, right?
Mhm.
Because I think even every day we have that, right? You take a different turn on a highway, you cross a different road. So, but I'm not going to talk about the little ones of every day. I'm going to say maybe three major ones.
Mhm.
The one that when we went to the US as me, a little girl, 1-year-old,
Mm.
that
Mm.
set me on a road to being connected to the United States in a way that was different than many people, I think. Just the fact that I can speak English the way I do, and some people get confused whether I'm from here or not, that set me up for many, many things, and enacting it has helped tremendously.
Mhm.
The other big one was 19 years old with an abuse here in the US. And
Mhm.
that was huge in so many ways that we all know, when something like that
Mhm.
happens. And it set me on the path of therapy, of, trying to overcome this. It set me also on the path towards my masculine energy more than my feminine, which was already there. It wasn't, a lot of people ask me, oh, was it the abuse? No, it wasn't the abuse. This was before. And the abuse was just one more layer of me getting more comfortable in my masculine than my feminine.
Mm.
Then the other huge one was my divorce after 22 years of marriage and
Mhm.
25 years of relationship with two beautiful, amazing women. And that set me on this path of the coaching
Mm.
and learning about my masculine and feminine energy, embracing finally my feminine energy and finding that healing, which also opened up my spiritual life much more than ever before, though I've been a Catholic all my life, born and raised. I went to Catholic school and all of that, but I was never a practitioner. And I wouldn't call myself necessarily a religious person. I'm a spiritual person now. So I think those were the three big ones that
Mhm.
truly made me transform and take a path that who knows, and I made many decisions at each of those moments, though the little one, I was more, of course, I was too little to decide, but I feel it impacted the way I lived. My mom's and dad's path definitely set me on a path. So I
Yeah.
think those are the three big ones.
I'm glad you say that, and I'm glad you share that. So that's another thing that we are connected with, because my father was an engineer, and my mother first, she worked as a court reporter, and later on, she had to keep up with family life because that generation, right? Um, they were more into okay, I'm going to quit my career for my family. Today, I'm like, no, I'm not quitting my career for my family. I'm going to do both. And I have been divorced too. I'm a mother of three young adults right now. And I know the price we pay. I'm not saying my mother did not pay a price. And I'm not comparing mine to hers, but really, you learn this balancing act, when you were talking about the masculine and the feminine. Like if I go to someone, if I have ever, in my 58 years of walking in this incarnation on the planet, if I ever went to anyone and said like, oh, this is my story, people are like, oh, yours is fine, you can do this. And I have to lean on to, and I had to lean on to myself. And which part of me was that it was my masculine side. I mean, I'm a Capricorn, so it's a very masculine energy anyway, Saturn ruling, but it's always that. So if I ever have to get into the feminine side, like even today, I said, just to be on this podcast with you, borrowed some lipstick from my friend and put it on. I'm like, okay, let me just match you a little bit, of course. And it's not same, but it's similar. It's similar. So talking about this balancing act that we go on, and balance is never like straight. It's always a bit goes up, a bit goes down, a bit goes up, a bit goes up. So it's like being on the seesaw. The teeter-totter. In America, they call it the teeter-totter. In English, we call it the seesaw. So it's always this balancing act. And when you mentioned that I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, I also went to a Catholic school. Okay, so I have a lot of Catholicism in me ingrained from early childhood. So I have great reverence for all those rituals and seeing the nuns, hover around you, play their little pianos, great pianos, and sing along with them. Like, still, it takes me to the tender place, when you are this little child, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. So I have both of that in me. And like you said, so balancing, and then you said you're spiritual. And to me, everyone is spiritual. It all depends on your awareness of the spirit that resides within you, that breathes through you. Even the word inspiration comes from spirit, respirar, to breathe, you inhale, you exhale. That's all spirit. So I want to take a different angle in this conversation with you, and I don't think I have done it with anyone else in the past, is talking about being a grounded person. You're a professional, you're a mother, you have more than one career, and then also the spiritual person, this person who is in connection with her own spirit and leads from her spirit. So let's talk a little bit about this balance, of matter and spirit, materialism, materialistic needs, and also honoring the spirit that resides within you and never forgetting who you truly, truly, truly are, the home, your core, corazon, it's all that, right? So enlighten us a little bit, Nana, of how you personally balance both these worlds for yourself and how you share it with your clients in your own world, even if they're not your clients, but people look at you and they're inspired by you, they're attracted to you. And somehow, even if you're not coaching them, but just seeing you move around, people are like, oh, I don't know what she does. I like that. Maybe I can do that. So take us a little bit on this journey of balancing spirit and matter for yourself, how you do that and how you lead your clients.
Well, maybe the first time you asked that question, my God, today you're on fire, girl. These questions are profound and yeah, and amazing because they make me think. So the balance, and we talked a little bit about this in one of our conversations, and I remember when I was in Microsoft, there was a thing about balancing life-work balance. I remember my ex-husband would laugh whenever he heard that in the meetings or the dinners. Well, not the meetings because it wasn't there, but the dinners or whatever. And because he knew it wasn't going to happen. And that's one of the reasons I resigned. So balance is an interesting idea. And this spirit, and I love the way you put it, because yes, we are all spirit. And the beautiful thing about what happened to me and why I call myself spiritual now, I think, and you made me think of this just now, I hadn't thought about it this way, is the fact that I am aware that I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that it wasn't there, because as you say, we all are, but I wasn't aware. I wasn't conscious of my spirit as much. I mean, I'm not going to say ever, because of course I had spiritual experiences along, and when we went from school to a road trip, and we went out to have these spiritual, how do you call them here? I don't know, like, you take all the girls to this place and we meditate and we chant and we sing and we pray. I would have spiritual experiences there, things that I felt that were fabulous and fantastic. It was fantastic, but I just didn't know, right? Now I know when I'm there. So what I teach, right, which is the balancing of the feminine and the masculine, and all of that is spirit, because everything is encompassing and it's all one. It's always a challenge, because most, of course, of the people that get to me, the ladies that I work, are in their masculine energy, as I was most of the time. And we get there for different reasons. In my case, as I said, it wasn't the abuse, it was just a bringing. My mom is very masculine energy. That's what I learned. That's what I saw. I'm the product of the female revolution of the second wave. Actually, people usually don't know that the 1960s was the second wave. The other one was in 1836, if I remember correctly. That was the first one. So when I, grew up with this masculine energy, and I encountered my divorce, and I realized that my divorce, one of the reasons, and maybe the main one, was me being in my masculine energy. That's not to say that, he didn't have his own things but that's my responsibility on everything, was that I was in my masculine energy. I didn't embrace my feminine. So I didn't connect with the man that I was married to in a way that we both could feel realized, that both could feel happy, fulfilled. That doesn't mean no conflict, right? Which people sometimes think a marriage should have no conflict. That is not true.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible, right? Now, how you resolve the conflict is what tells you if the marriage is going to survive or not. So
Yes.
the balance really means, in my opinion, knowing when to access what. So it's not about, like, people think, oh, so I have to be 50% of the time in my masculine, 50%. So how many hours do I do this? No, you don't. That's impossible, first of all, right? What I teach them is, in this instant where you are right now, in the present, under these circumstances, what is needed from you? What energy should be the one that enhances the situation, that helps you, that makes sense, right? If you're in a business meeting, solving problems, thinking about goals, strategizing, it is natural that you use your masculine, because you got to solve problems. You got to think of goals. You got to have deadlines. The masculine has deadlines. The feminine doesn't. If you give the feminine a deadline, it just freaks out. And then you go to your masculine. Because the feminine is unlimited in that sense. It has to flow. right? So if you go to the spa, for example, and you say, I'm going to go relax, unless there is no time limit, whether you do it for an hour at the spa, yeah, but in your feeling, there is no rush. You can, you're just there. You don't do it between two meetings. Then you're going to your feminine. But if you go between two meetings, knowing that, oh my God, I only have an hour in the spa. Yeah, the massage is going to work, but you're not going to relax.
So
So
integration time.
yeah.
No time to
So
integrate.
that's what the balance, in my opinion, is knowing when to go to your spiritual side, which is always, I mean, I feel we should always be in our spiritual side, in that elevated state, but it's not true. We live on this earth, we're grounded here, but you can come back to it. You can come back to it through breath. You can come back to it through awareness. Now, in terms of the feminine and the masculine, is just knowing right now here with you, I should not be anywhere else unless I'm thinking of a problem that I have to solve or an answer that other than my feminine, just flowing with you, feeling everything, totally present, just in my vulnerability, in my love, in my nurture. That's what makes more sense for me here in this moment. Now, you ask me a question that I have to solve a problem in my mind, I'll go to my masculine to see how I can solve that. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that is so potent what you just shared, and even problem solution, like as a mother, you're a mother, I'm a mother, I'm a coach, people come to me in their vulnerable states. Like you help women who are more in their masculine energy. So basically you're coaching and helping heal your past version in helping your clients, right? So one of the things that I do is I'm also healing my past version, my younger version when I was in my 30s and I was in my struggles and I was a young mother, whatever I was going through and how I resolved that and worked through my crossroads and to find myself where I am today, which is still evolving. I help those women. So as a business owner, I have marketing, I have sales, I have accounting, and then I have client fulfillment, the promise that I said this up. So when I'm in my nurturing state with my client, it's a solution. They have a problem, whether they're not feeling heard in a relationship, they are going through whatever it is they are going through, not feeling seen, not feeling validated. At that moment, I get into my nurturing side. And that is my feminine. Although it's a solution, it's still my feminine side. But definitely when I'm doing my marketing and my accounting, that's all masculine side. It's a left brain, very logical. But then even in my coaching, see, when I'm the therapist and the healer, I am feminine. But when I'm the coach, I'm masculine because now we have to come up with strategies. What's your next step now? So it's always this constant dance. What, like you said it so well, like, what are you tapping into right now? Like if you're going to prepare a meal, first you need the masculine, you need all the ingredients. But then when you're cooking, especially if you're like an Indian and cooking in a pot, it's all feminine. I'm feeling a bit of this, a bit of that. It's a dance, you're singing, right?
I love it.
Yeah, that is the balancing of the
What
two.
you're, yes, and what you're saying is so true. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just don't want to forget. And I always talk about this case because this was to me mind-blowing, right? And that's why my workshops start with me explaining what I'm going to tell you right now, which is the difference between the role, the biology, and the energies. And we tend to merge all of that together. I had a friend who came to it, this was in COVID. We were in a Zoom, we were doing Zoom. And when I explained the difference of that, and she asked a question, I can't remember exactly what it was, but then I'm explaining, and she goes like, wait, so do you mean to say that I'm a housewife, but I'm in my masculine? And I said, yes. In her mind, because she was a housewife, she thought that she was using a lot of her feminine. And she was in her feminine. And I explained to her, what you're saying is you're in the role of the feminine. but it's the female role, which is
Mhm.
housewife. But your energies to fulfill that role are masculine, because she
Yes.
was all about duty, solving the problem in the house, who needs what. It was a goal-oriented housewife. She was not enjoying what she was doing. She wasn't just flowing with it, right? So I said, you can cook with your masculine or you can cook with your feminine, which is what you just said. So when people understand that, they go like, oh my God, because they feel the role is equal to the energies, and they equate that, and then they're not.
And when you talked about your mother being masculine, my mother, she gave up her job of making money, earning a living, because she was working before she met my dad. And then the two of them got married, and she was still working and half the provider. And then there was me, and she was still doing both roles, but she was in this masculine side, you know? She was in this masculine because it's all, and then she became a housewife, right? So you'd be like, oh, she's all, no, she was like gung ho. My dad used to come home and hand all, in those days people brought home packet of cash, you know, they brought home, and she would hand over, he would hand over all the cash to her, and every morning he would say, oh, I need this much for the petrol. In India we call it petrol. I need this much for the petrol, you know, and then I need this much for my cigarette. And sometimes he'll go, oh, I need some petrol, and my mom said, I give you for petrol, now you need for your cigarettes. My mom gave him money for his cigarettes. She was the master. So I saw that, and I grew up that way. Like, you have to put your girl pants on, big girl pants on, and you have to take care of everything. So I forgot, or maybe I never even knew what it meant to be a girl, because if I ever told anyone any troubles, oh, you can do this. Yeah, you can do this. You do this for everyone. You can do that. But where do I go to cry? Nowhere. So guess what I do for crying? Either the shower or watch a sad movie or sing a sad song.
Well, now you can call Nana.
There you go.
We can walk by the beach and we cry together.
Yeah, right?
No,
And
absolutely. That is something that every human being, and this is not only women, right? And I just wrote actually my last article on LinkedIn was about vulnerability, and
hmm,
so needed for women, because we get sick by being on our masculine. People, I don't think we're aware of the problems, physical problems that we are causing ourselves
mhm.
by staying in our masculine most of the time. It is incredible. And this is science already documenting, because of course you say the masculine, it's energy, it sounds woo, right? Yeah, but the masculine energy, what we call the masculine energy, or the yang, and all that side of us, it's rooted in behaviors. It's rooted in things we do.
Mm-hmm.
Those things we do generate an emotional state, which generates a hormonal state and a chemical state in our body. So it is science. I mean, we're just calling it masculine energy for a better name. I've been for years trying to find a better name that creates less resistance, and I haven't. So if anybody, want to write something on the comments, creative, that we can call it, so people don't jump feeling it's related to men. But we get sick. We as women, and men too, because men are getting away from their masculine more into their feminine. And then here is, who starts this thing, who started it, the women or the men? Because we women are pushing men to their feminine, but that's a whole nother talk.
Another conversation, and I promise we will do that. So in Sanskrit we call it Shiva Shakti, the masculine. It's not
Absolutely.
man and woman, it's the masculine and the feminine. In the Orient we have the yin and the yang,
Right.
so that's what it is, because men have yin and yang, women have yin and yang. I mean, if you just think of testosterone and estrogen, women have them, men have. Men have
Yes.
testosterone, men have estrogen. And women have testosterone, women have estrogen, and estrogen gives you the calm. Testosterone gives you the facelift. Okay.
I love that.
So when men go through menopause, some people call it funnily, to be funny, in a menopause, what happens is men lose their calm, but they have firmer skin. And women, as we lose our testosterone, which nullifies and estrogen comes down, we get more wrinkles. It's a biological thing. And so when men grow older, they get grumpier. Women grow older, we get more wrinkles. Okay, that's biology. So you have both of them in you. And how do you keep them in that state, And there's so many things that you can do,
There are so many
exercise.
things, and the balancing and learning, what does this moment require for me has helped my clients so much. And it's an everyday awareness. Like you say, with the spiritual side of us, going back to the spirit, unless you bring it to the consciousness, right? To your consciousness, unless you're aware of it, it's just going to slide by, because our lives are so busy, are so incredibly overwhelmed with stimuli,
Yes.
right? Sometimes you really have to do, very drastic things to be able to refrain from that overwhelm of stimuli. But unless you do, there is no connecting to your spirit, and there is no connecting to your feminine for the women that need to do that. You have to quiet down. You have to allow your environment to slow down, to retreat, to be able to tap into that. It's the only way.
Yes. And I was going to ask you that question, and you gave the answer without me asking.
Oh.
because we are in this people-pleasing state, right? We want to please everyone. That's the third level of evolution. And the fourth one is that awareness, like knowing who you are being right now. In Sanskrit, we call it, what is your dharma? I mean, if
Yes.
you're a cobbler, then focus on your shoes. When you're a wife, then focus on being a wife to your husband. When you're a mother, focus on being the mother. Play that role out to the fullest. When you are a coach, then focusing on that role. So your dharma means just honoring your potential and your role. This is your potential and this is your role. And you honor both of them. And to be in that awareness, and that is a daily process. You do that every day. And I was going to ask you, how do you do that? And you already said it, and I'm just repeating what you just shared, Nana, is to step back. Take time for yourself. Take time for yourself and just ask yourself, who am I being right now? What am I being called to do? Like as an actress, if you're Alondra, then you are being Alondra. You're not being Nana in that moment, right?
Yes.
And that's what it is to know what is the role you have to play. And Shakespeare said it, the world is a stage and we are mere actors who show up. So what is the role you're playing at this stage in your life, or in this month, in this season, on this day?
And
But
you,
you cannot.
I would take, and you know what, Keya, I would take it even further in this minute, because you, during a day, play different roles. In the 24 hours that you're living, you can play, listen, I don't know, 5, 10, depending on how many things you have going, right? I have the actress, so when I'm on set, I do that. But then I'm a coach, but then I'm a friend, and then I'm a daughter. Those are roles, right? Sometimes I'm fixing things. In that moment, I am a fixer or whatever I'm fixing, right? So we play all these roles within a 24-hour period. But and I'm going to connect this to the spirit. We have to understand that that's the material world. That's not the spiritual world, right? That is our earthly presence those roles and this physical body, that's not our spiritual body, right? And you know this better than anyone. And I'm learning it, you know, I'm on the path and embracing that part of me. And when I understand that that's just a role, that's not who I am. The role is not who I am. And when I understood that, that's so freeing. And that ties with what you said of pleasing people, right? I used roles to please. Because of course, when I was the Microsoft executive, you know, my mom was very proud of me and I was doing this thing and I was traveling and making the money. So, you know, it was very, but I realized I was doing it for others. To please my mom, first of all, I've lived all my life trying to please my mom. Yeah, right? Isn't that Jesus? We don't realize how important we are in the lives of our children. So, and I still find myself doing that. Sometimes I'm thinking things and I'm like, oh my God, Nana, there you are again. That little girl trying to please mom.
Mhm. Yeah,
So it's a daily practice.
it's a daily practice. And like you said, a minute practice, because in like one of the things my teacher says, I have many teachers, but one of them has often repeated that every breath you have to be conscious of it. And the first time I heard it, like 20, 25 years ago, and I'm like, oh, you're a monk. It's so easy for you to say every breath, be aware of it. How you have to take conscious breaths. And I heard it, and that's where I stopped listening, what he said beyond that. But one day it came to me, and he said, because you never know which breath is going to be your last breath. And I'm like, that's true. Right? So every breath living in that awareness. But if I go out and tell my clients or my friends who come to me for me to hold space for them, if I tell them all that, they're going to be like, oh, we don't want to talk to Keya because she's telling us, what is this? Live every minute. But you said it. So I'm going to pull into that energy and say, like, every minute, every moment, every breath. Let's be aware, because we never know which breath will be that last breath. I mean, that's the ideal way of living. And while we meditate, we do reach, like, if for 20 minutes you're sitting to meditate, sometimes for 2 minutes or 20 seconds or 2 seconds, we get into that state of like, I am.
Yes. Yes. And that is such a beautiful thought, right? That every breath, because you never know which one is the last. It's just so powerful. And I agree with you. Like, it sometimes, well, now they're gonna hear it because I'm gonna say it, but sometimes I have to, I'm gonna say kind of trick, though I don't like the word, but because if we explain this up front for coaching, for example, right? Oh, like, I have to be aware every second, every breath, every this, every that, and like it becomes like, oh my God, it's a lot, right? And it is a lot. When you begin to do this practice, it takes energy. It's an energy consuming task, the being present and being aware. The beautiful thing is, once you have it, it's like everything you learn that becomes automatic, though consciousness can't be automatic because then it's not consciousness, right? But it becomes easier, right? You will be able to flow and you will be able to reflect. Like, for example, now sometimes I'm in conversations with men, right? And I'm work or whatever, and I go like, oh, wait, you're going to your masculine. This conflict, this tension that is beginning to arise, it's because you are going to your masculine, he's in his masculine, and two masculine energies are going to confront and fight each other, right? So I take a step back, and this doesn't mean, which is what creates some in women, right? Oh, so I have to give up and I have to let men abuse me and blah, blah, blah. And I go like, no, I was abused myself. Why in the world would I want men now to come into my life to abuse me. I mean, that is the last thing that I'm proposing. But there are so many conflicts that we could not have by just allowing yourself to go to your feminine, which is, let me listen. Let me receive what this man is trying to give me. Right? Sometimes I see compliments that go wrong, like so wrong, because women go like, they get offended. Why is he saying that? Just allow yourself to take it. Of course, if you're safe, if the compliment is coming from a good place, and we know that. Right? We know when it's an abuse. We know when it's a trespassing, that it's not in the right way. But if it's coming from a good place, from an honest place of a man wanting to give you something beautiful, take it. So yeah, that I even lost my train of thought where I was going with this, but
To receive.
yeah, going
to receive.
to receive. Yes.
Yeah, just to be grateful and receive. Because even of late, like today's March, so thank God for that. So I can say a couple of months ago, I met up with a classmate of mine from high school, and he says, "Oh, you look so good." And I was like, I didn't say thank you. I said, "Oh, I'm a Capricorn, we reverse age." And he says, "Oh, you really look nice. That haircut of yours suits you so much." And guess what I said? I just took a shower. It's almost like I was deflecting his compliments. We are both 54, 58-year-old people. We are mature adults with children who are adults. But I couldn't have him tell me that I was looking good, or my haircut suits me or something. He was being genuinely nice, nothing else. But he said it once, I didn't say thank you. He said it again, I didn't say thank you. I was just like, "Oh, I took a shower. Oh, I reverse aged." Can you believe it? Deflecting. And I became conscious of it
I
the
can.
next morning.
But because that was your masculine acting. The one replying was your masculine, not your feminine.
Exactly. Instead of just saying thank you and zip, thank you, and just receive.
Yes, and
compliment,
feel
because there's nothing
grateful.
else. Right? There's nothing
Right?
else.
It should give you pleasure. It should give you joy to receive a compliment of any kind.
Yeah. No favors were asked. It's just two people 45 years later meeting each other and saying, "Hey, you look good, Thank you." So like, oh, like getting into that stage. It was like so much defense, so much like pushback, that people will be like, maybe we should never tell her anything nice. Because every time we tell her something, that she pushes it back. It's a gratitude, learning the gratitude of receptivity.
Yes, and that's what my TEDx is all about, actually. That's the main message in it, because the feminine or the feminine has so many aspects of it. Receiving is one of them, right? But with the life that we're living today, especially women having such a hard time receiving, that's why I focused my TEDx on just that aspect, right? I didn't touch in the gazillion many others that are so important as well. But I think the women of today, post second female revolution, have such a hard time receiving. It's incredible. I was one of them, I'm not pointing fingers. I was one of them. Still do it sometimes when I'm, fully in my masculine. And it's so funny. I think the other day somebody wanted to help me with my grocery bags, right? And it was a woman. And I'm like, "No, it's okay." And then I stopped myself and I'm like, "Nana, what is it that you teach?" Yes, of course. And I gave her, because she saw me like I was struggling. I wanted to grab them all and take them at once. I didn't want to go back and forth, right? And so yeah, just allow.
Just that receiving and saying thank you. And that's about it. I don't have to return something, because when someone gives you something, right away you want to give something. You don't need to. when you give thank you, you are gifting that person, and it could be a man or a woman, anybody, the joy of having given you something. And that's all.
Yes.
And it comes, and I want to share where it comes from. It comes from our disintegrated parts, because we have so many parts of ourselves: compassionate one, the confident one, blah 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 blah. All these parts, they are disintegrated, But when you give yourself that gift of time to sit and meditate, be out in nature, whatever it is, take a shower, whatever it is, and be with yourself, whole and complete. Even the 2 second of awareness of who you are, whole and complete, and then you can come from that place, gifting someone the joy of giving you something. That's it.
100%, 100%. And like I said, each one of these topics are a whole discussion in itself, but I came to realize, and this is something that I'm going to be very vulnerable about, admitting, me not receiving many, many times was a way of hitting. It was a way of punishing actually the other person. It wasn't that I didn't want it. It was like more of, oh, I'm angry at you. And I have these things like when it was my partner, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to let you give me that. I'm not going to give you the pleasure of my thanks. Right? So, I understood that about myself, that not receiving was a weapon with which I attacked. So, yeah.
We shared so much today. And in wrapping up, do you feel there is something you would love to share with our audience right here, right now? Because I will leave the links of how people can get in touch with you in the show notes. If you're watching it on YouTube, go to the description. You'll find all the links of how to get in touch with this awesome, brilliant force of nature, this balanced feminine, masculine being in front of you, God flowing through her in this human form. Is there anything you would like to share in our closing?
Well, first, I'm going to say thank you for that beautiful, beautiful description you just did of me. So thank you. I think the one thing that I'm going to share is that I'm going to have a workshop, my first workshop in LA, and my first in
of many.
a while.
First of many. Because people will...
Well, not my first ever, because I've done them in New York and Miami, but since COVID, I don't think I had an in-person. Yeah. So I'm going to have on March 30th here in LA at the Women's Club of Hollywood, an in-person workshop. So whoever is in California and wants to drop by, we'll have links there for them to find me. The other thing is, I think we've covered most of what we would set out to talk about. Just allow yourself the journey, and that journey has to start first by knowing where you're at. Right? There is no journey until you know where you're at and where you're going. Then the journey starts. So understanding yourself, if you're a woman, are you mainly in your masculine energy during the day? And there are ways to find that out. Are you using your feminine, very, very little? That is something to work on. How is your health? Your health would speak volumes to you. Any ailment that you have, any ache and pain, all of them, most all of them can be sourced back to something emotional, something that you're doing or something that you're not doing. So start there too, if you want, just with your health. And then, investigate, learn to see how to get to this place of balancing act. I'm going to call it a balancing act, which is knowing how to move from one to the other.
Thank you so much today. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Nana, for showing up and sharing your brilliance, your genius with me and our audience over here. So with all the love and light that is me, I humbly bow to the love and light that is you. For now.
Namaskaram, as I usually say.
Namaste.
If I could be anywhere, I'd be here with you, sharing our healing hearts, our hope and our truth. Joy overflows here at the crossroads. Here at the crossroads. Oh, here at the crossroads.